Ali, 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 yeah. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for his blessings. Ali was the circle 7. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for his blessings. Ali was the circle 7. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for his blessings. Ali was the circle 7. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for his blessings. Ali was the circle 7. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for his blessings. Ali was the circle 7. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for his blessings. Ali was the circle 7.
Islam, 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 Moorish America. Want to rise upon the 7 within the circle of justice, mercy, love, and right, and give all praises to the great God Allah, Father God Allah, and honors to his holy prophet, honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, El-Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali, that is. We give honors to our Moorish kin once again, here, there, and everywhere, and therefore honors to all of you who are continuously honoring yourselves by being yourselves. We give honors to our Grand National Seal. We give honors to our Grand National Emblem, National Flag, Divine Constitution, and bylaws. And honors to all of you who are indeed a living manifestation and personification of everything. And I do mean everything that our holy prophet brought to make us a nation. I want to welcome you to another Egyptian ADEPTUS Research Sultanate session, our E.A.R.S session. I'm your host instructor, Dr. Shahid Imani Amohadi Shabazel, and my ancient committee and high name being the same as Dr. Shedawaminti El Muhajjid Shepsuel. This is a powerful drawing that we had to bring on the manifest. So without further ado or delay, I want to call forth our beloved Consul General of the Iowa Territory, Bati Bey, so that he may open up the way. Islam, and we ask that you open up your hearts and minds as he opens up the way.
Islam. Islam. As he stated, my name is Dr. Bati Bey with the Iowa Territory. First, I'd like to rise to give all manner of praise to Allah, honors to the Prophet, honors to our theocratic government, our royal council, our flag, seal, emblem, our divine constitution, our swift angels, our muftis, citizens alike, honors to all the Moors that are in attendance in the sound of my voice. And I will begin with the comedian Adab Moorish American prayer. Ya Allah abnu haru makuneteru, Ya Allah abhetheru, Ya Allah ma'atheru, Ya Allah hotepheru, Ya Allah horu, Ya Allah ma'atheru kuti, Ya Allah awajejejuti, Ya Allah patim sutek patim haru, Ya Allah bamaduti, al hadisepsis rei abtu Ali. Ameen. Holy Isa, Holy Isa, Holy Isa. And that is to say, O Allah, the Father of the universe, O Allah, the Father of love, O Allah, the Spirit of truth, O Allah, the Spirit of peace, O Allah, the Spirit of freedom, O Allah, the Spirit of justice, O Allah, you are my protector, O Allah, you are my God, O Allah, you are my salvation by night and by day, O Allah, through your holy prophet, O Allah, Drew Ali. Amen. Holy Isa, Holy Isa, Holy Isa. And with the recitation of our committee and add that Moorish American prayer, I will now go into our divine constitution and bylaws. Salvation, our God unity, the divine constitution of Moorish America. Act 1. The Grand Sheikh and the chairman of Moorish America are empowered to make law and enforce laws with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body of Moorish America. The assistant Grand Sheikh is to assist the Grand Sheikh in all affairs, if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and it is known before the citizens of Moorish America. The bylaws. Act 2. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7, and love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest, because on the Friday the first man was formed in flesh, and on the Friday the first man departed out of flesh and ascended into his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is a holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all citizens of Moorish America. No citizen is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister, because Allah is love. Act 4. All citizens must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all citizens must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you are a part and parcel of the government and must live the life accordingly. Act 5. No organization of Moorish America is to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. Act 6. With us, all citizens must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are a part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names are given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites, whom inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All citizens must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and a partial of all uplifting acts of Moorish America. Moorish Americans must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of Moorish America, and then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become a part of the uplifting of all of humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his Father God, Allah. Prophet Noble Drew Ali, peace and blessings be upon him, founding father and framer of the divine constitution and bylaws of Moorish America. And with the recitation of our divine constitution and bylaws, I will now turn the meeting over to our goddess, Assistant Secretary of State, Dendra Kurtabay, Islam.
Islam. I am Dr. Dendra Kurtabay. First, let me rise and give praises to our great God Allah. I give honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali. I give honors to Act 1. I give honors to all my government officials. I give honors to our instructor, our National Assistant Grand Sheikh, Dr. Sadu Amite El Maheja Sepsuel. And I give honors to our Council General of our for opening us up according to law and reading our bylaws and our Constitution. And at this time, I will be reading our chapter of the week, chapter 63, Holy Instructions from the Prophet, Inconstancy. Nature urges thee to inconstancy, O man. Therefore guard thyself at all times against it. Thou art from the womb of thy mother, various and wavering from the loins of thy father, inherit thou instability. How then shalt thou be firm? Those who gave thee a body furnished it with weakness, but he who gave thee a soul armed thee with resolution. Employ it, and thou art wise. Be wise, and thou art happy. Let him who doeth well beware how he boasteth of it, for rarely is it of his own will. Is not the event of an impulse from without, born of uncertainty, enforced by accident, dependent on somewhat else. To thee and to accident is due the praise. Beware of irresolution in the intent of thy action. Beware of instability in the execution. So shall thy triumph over too great failings of thy nature. What reproacheth reason more than to act contrarieties? What can suppress the tendencies of these but firmness of mind? The inconstant feeleth that he changeth, but he knoweth not why. He seeth that he escapeth from himself, but he perceiveth not how. Be thou incapable of change in that which is right, and men will rely upon thee. Establish unto thyself principles of action, and see that thou ever act according to them. So shall thy passions have no rule over thee. So shall thy constancy ensure unto thee the good thou possessest, and drive from thy door misfortune. Anxiety and disappointment shall be strangers to thy gates. Suspect not evil in anyone until thou seest it. When thou seest, forget it not. Who so have been an enemy cannot be a friend, for a man mendeth not his faults. How should his action be right, who have no rule of his life? Nothing can be just which proceedeth not from reason. The inconstant have no peace in his soul, neither can be at ease whom he concerneth himself with. His life is unequal, his motions are irregular, his soul changes with the weather. Today he loveth thee, tomorrow thou art detested by him. And why? Himself knoweth not wherefore he now hateth. Today he is the tyrant, tomorrow thy servant is less humble. And why? He who is arrogant without power will be severe while there is no subjection. Today he is profuse, tomorrow he grudges unto his mouth that which it should eat. Thus it is with him who knoweth not moderation. Who shall say to the chameleon, he is black, when the moment after the verdure of the grass overspreadeth him? Who shall say of the inconstant, he is joyful, when his next breath shall be spent in sighing? What is the life of such a man but the phantom of a dream? In the morning he rises happy, at noon he is on the rack. This hour he is a god, the next below a worm. One moment he laugheth, the next he weepeth. He now willeth, in an instant he willeth not, and in another he knoweth not whether he willeth or not. Yet neither ease nor pain have fixed themselves on him. Neither is he waxed greater or become less. Neither have he had cause for laughter or reason for his sorrow. Therefore shall none of them abide with him. The happiness of the inconstant is as a palace built on the surface of the sand. The blowing of the wind carrieth away its foundation. What wonder then that it falleth? But what exalted form is this, that hitherward directs it even its uninterrupted course, whose foot is on earth, whose head is above the clouds? On his brow sitteth majesty, steadiness is in his port, and in his heart reigneth tranquility. Though obstacles appear in his way, he designed not to look down upon them. Though heaven and earth oppose his passage, he proceeded. The mountains sink beneath his tread. The waters of the ocean are dried up under the sole of his foot. The tiger throweth herself across his way in vain. The spots of the leopard glow against him unregarded. He marches through the embattled legion. With his hand he putteth aside the terror of death. Storms roar against his shoulders, but are not able to shake them. The thunder bursteth over his head in vain. The lightning serve but to show the glories of his countenance. His name is resolution. He cometh from the utmost part of the earth. He seeth happiness afar off before him. His eye discovereth her temple beyond the limits of the pole. He walketh up to it. He entereth boldly, and he remaineth there forever. Establish thy heart, O man, in that which is right, and then know the greatest of human is to be immutable. Islam, Islam, Islam. We will now turn everything back over to our host, our National Assistant Grand Chief, Dr. Sadu Amete El Maheti Sepsuel. Are you there, God man?
Islamism, goddess and queen.
Islam.
And gratitude for the scribes, y'all opening up the way. Praise be to Allah. Islamism without the schism. Indeed, a grand drawing, most definitely. And we got a grand measure to bring on the manifest this morning. And we definitely can't wait to hear from our Moorish kin and everything it is that you have to bring forth. You know, Allah is definitely leading on and victory is sure. And yeah, without further ado or delay, we're going to go ahead and call forth our scribes so that we can get this divine wisdom, you know, and come into, you know, a grand vision, you know, of what it is has been envisioned by our family this morning. So Allah is definitely leading on, and victory is sure. And so without further ado or delay, let us call forth our first scribe who have their assignment, Islam.
Islam.
Islam, Sister Curta Bay.
Islam, Dr. Dendra Nia Curta Bay. Let me go ahead on and get this set up. Let's see, present. Okay, share screen. Share screen. Okay, entire screen. Share. Now let me pull up what I had. Can y'all see that? I know a lot of times I need to make it bigger.
Yeah, you in queue, sister.
Okay, can y'all see that well enough? Do I need to make it bigger or?
You can expand it, but I mean, I can see it, but you can expand it a little bit if that way make sure our family that might be on their phones or whatever.
Okay, how about that?
Oh yeah, that's perfect.
Okay, Islam family. Our homework assignment was to use Mustafa Guatala's Egyptian hieroglyph metaphysical language book to find 7 signs, and then we were to study the nature of the signs of our preference, and we were to give a Moorish exegesis using the teachings of our Moorish Holy Quran. And what I did and what I felt like was being asked of us, what I did is I got the book and I went through and I picked out, he said, pick out 7 signs. And I picked out 7 signs, and I wanted to put a picture of them up there, but I ran out of time. I'm a little slow too. And I wanted to put a picture of the different signs that I put up, but I just ran out of time. I didn't have time to do that. So I just went through the book and picked out the 7 signs. And the first sign that I picked out was the frog. And he said, for us to, to study the nature of the frog. And when I thought about the frog, I thought about this represents conception, procreation, and the source of life. And the frogs are symbols of abundance, fertility, also resurrection and rebirth. And also, when I thought about some of the frogs as being the color green, it also took me back to every time when I would see a picture of Saw. They had Osiris, but I like to call him by his name. Osiris, he was being depicted in the color. He always was depicted in the color green. And also, when I looked it up, it said the color green represents protection. And also, it talked about how Osiris was also called the great green. That's what they said when I was looking it up. And when I was thinking about how could I relate this to our teachings, and when it was talking about protector, the color green represents protection. And I thought about in our Holy Quran and our teachings that how even in our prayer it says it tells us about how Allah is our protector. And also when I thought about the frogs, it talked about procreation and the source of life. And I also went to Psalms 127. That particular verse came to mind when it talks about, it says, lo, children are an heritage of the Lord, and the fruit of the womb is his reward. It says, as arrows are in the hand of a mighty man, so are children of youth. It said, happy is the man that have his quiver full of them. They shall not be ashamed, but they shall speak with the enemies in the gate. So when I thought about the frog, all of this come to me, and this is what I thought about when I was just pondering and doing my research on the frog and the nature of the frog and the essence of the frog. And this is just what was given to me. And I know, and when we're doing our research and things of this nature, I'm coming from my background, my teachings. I'm coming from what I know. And for me, when I'm doing this, I'm looking at it as there is no right or wrong answer. It's where I am at the time. And this is what came up to me when I was doing my research. And so this is what I got from just pondering on the frog and the nature of the frog. So my next one, and like I say, I didn't really have time to put a picture of a frog up there, but most of y'all know what a frog looked like, and you can Google it and find the frog, Islam. And so my next one I did, it was I picked out the heart. And a lot of times when we talked about the heart, and even in my studies when I was studying about the heart in our committee and teachings, the heart, it is symbolic of intellectual perception, consciousness, and moral courage. And when talking about the heart, I thought about how our prophet teaches us that the heart of a grateful man is like the clouds of heaven, which drops upon the earth fruits, herbage, and flowers. But the heart of the ungrateful is like the desert of sand, which swalloweth with greediness the showers that fall, and beareth them in his bosom, and produceth nothing. That's coming from chapter 55, ayat 4. And when dealing with the heart, also when I think about the heart, when I think about the heart, I'm thinking about the center of something. And a lot of times when we are not talking about this fleshly pump that's on the inside of our body that excludes the blood all over our body and pumps blood all through our veins and everything. I'm not talking, that's a piece of flesh. That is an organ. I'm not talking about that type of a heart. I'm talking about the center of a thing. A lot of times we like to say the heart of the tree. You're talking about the center of that thing, the center of it. And this is what I got when I was thinking about the heart, Islam. And so my next one I picked out, went through the book, and I picked out. He told us to pick out 7 signs of our choice. So, and he said study the nature, and so this is what I thought he meant. And so I went through the book and I picked out the cat, and it says the cat in litany of Ray. Ray is described as the one of the cat and the great cat. And it talks about how the 9 realms of the universe and manifested in the cat, for both the cat and the grand indeed, meaning 9 times, mean unity, have the same Egyptian term. And and also it talks about, when I thought about the cat, I thought about how here in our culture, in this culture, it talks about how the cat, we always say a cat have 9 lives, and that is speaking of the different realms. And also when thinking of the 9, I also thought about it is the triune times 3. And I went to our Zooming of a Nation and did some studying on the 9, and it says, according to ancient science, 9 is symbolic of re-entry, and also 9 is the last whole number before new life, life everlasting. And when I was thinking about the cat, also when I was thinking about dealing with the cat, it talked about how the cat can represent internal happiness, contentment, and peace. And this brought me to chapter 5, ayah 16, when Yehoshua said, I do not, when he was having a birthday party, and talking about contentment and being at peace and being happy. Yehoshua having a birthday party in chapter 5 and ayah 16, and they was asking him what would he want, and his response was, I do not want a gift, for I am satisfied. In other words, I am content. I am at peace. He said, but if I could make a multitude of children glad upon this day, I would be greatly pleased. And all he wanted to do, even at that young age, he wanted to help. He wanted to help others. And this is what I took away. I tied that in to our Moorish Holy Quran teaching when it talks in dealing with the cat. This is what I got from looking at the cat, studying the nature of the cat, and this is just some of the things that I got from dealing with the cat. Islam. My next sign I picked out was the ears. I thought about how we have 2 ears, and it said the ears signify hearing, acknowledging, learning, and comprehending. And when I think about the ears, I was also reminded of the scripture in the Piscean era, the scripture in Matthew 11, chapter 11, verse 15, that says, "He that have ears to hear, let him hear." And a lot of times, even now, and also to tie that into our Holy Quran, also in our Holy Quran in chapter 19, ayah 28. We see John saying, hear, hear, you people of Jerusalem, reform, turn from your evil ways, or Allah will turn from you, and heathen from afar will come, and what is left of all your honor and your fame will pass in one short hour. And so we can see when I'm thinking about our ears and how the purpose of your ears is to, like I said, is to acknowledge, to hear, to learn, to comprehend. I also went back to thought about in our chapter 60 in dealing with the actions of the soul. When he say He that have ear to hear, let him hear. And it also made me think, even today, we are here teaching these truths, trying to bring our people these truths. But a lot of times, some of them, not all of them, sometimes you have people, even though they have ear, they can't hear. They don't hear what you are saying. They don't even comprehend what you are saying. And some of them just turn a deaf ear to what you're saying. They don't want to hear what you're saying. And so this is what I got from picking out the sign, the ears, and thinking about the ears. And I also thought about, how a lot of times when you don't know who our holy prophet is, when you don't know who made you, a lot of times we can go along and we be just like some people call the walking dead, but we be like the walking deaf. We can't hear Islam. So that's what I had for the sign I picked out for the ears. And my next one I picked out, my next sign I picked out was the star. And of course, we know star, it was the symbol for both destiny and the number 5. And we also teach that we have a 5-pointed open green star on our flag. And we know that the number 5 is one of our strong numbers. We have strong numbers that we call 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. Those are the numbers that we call our strong numbers. And also, when I thought about the star, I thought about our open green star, which that have no boundaries. That's on our flag. And also, when I think about the star, I think about, how a star is made. It's got the 5 points on it, and they stand for man, arm, leg, arm, and head. And also, the 5-pointed star, it stands for Allah. As you can see, that spells Allah, ALLAH. And when I'm thinking, when I thought about the star, also. I know Yehoshua was referred to as a star, but I thought about how Lucifer, he was in Isaiah, he was referred to as a star, and it said in Isaiah 14 verse 13, it said Lucifer saying, I will set my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. And when I thought about the stars, I thought about how Lucifer, in his mind, he was in that rebellion, and we all know how that turned out when he said he was going. Basically, he wanted to take over and he wanted to rule. And I thought about that when it talked about the star, how he talked about how he was going to ascend above the stars of the great God Allah. And we know how all that turned out. He got cast out, and all of his little buddies with him. So that's what I got when I thought about the star. I just wanted to cover a little bit. Could have went on about the star, but that's where I stopped at when I talked about the sign of the star. And last, let me see. Next to that, I picked out the sign, the Ankh. And a lot of us know, you can Google it if you don't really know how the Ankh look like. But the Ankh, I picked that sign out because it represents eternal life. And when I thought about the Ankh, and when it represents eternal life, it made me go back to our chapter 1 when it talks about how time never was when man was not. And it also talks about how man is a thought of Allah, and all thoughts of Allah are infinite. In other words, eternal. And then it also tells us about also, I remember when I was in Christianity, coming out of in the Piscine area, I thought about how the Ankh represent eternal life. I also remembered how we were told that that cross that Jesus so-called was hung on, that meant that we had eternal life, and that if we would if we would how they had it, if we would confess and believe in our hearts that he was the Son of God and all this stuff, that we would have eternal life. And I also thought about how it just goes to show you how even when they was doing this, you can see our teachings, our ancestors had the Ankh, talked about the Ankh, had the Ankh and the picture of the Ankh and what it represented, even before they come out with this in Christianity. And we know that Alexander the Greek, he went in and stole a lot of our stuff, and what he couldn't steal, and what he couldn't what he couldn't keep, he destroyed a lot of our teachings. And then they went and studied our teachings and then turned around and tried to give it back to us. And so you can see the correlation there, how they took that information from our ancestors about the Ankh meaning eternal life, but they changed it to Jesus so they could trick us into believing that this was something that was going to give us eternal life. And of course, this is during the time we was hit over the head with that setting ball, and all our senses had been basically knocked out of us. We didn't have a clue on what was going on. We didn't have a clue about our ancestors and none of that. So this is what I got from the Ankh in dealing with the signs that we had to pick out. And last but not least, I picked out the X. And they had it spelled AX, and some of them spelled it AXE. But anyway, the axe, I said, that sign, as I studied about the axe, it said the axe can represent strength, bravery, and the ability to protect and defend. And now it was pretty interesting. It said the axe is one of the oldest tools developed by humans. Now watch this, y'all. The axe is one of the oldest tools developed by humans since the Neolithic age. It has been a symbol of battle and work. And it says the Neolithic period, or the New Stone Age, is characterized by the beginning of a settled human lifestyle. People learn to cultivate plants and domesticate animals for food rather than rely solely on hunting and gathering. And when I saw that, I didn't know what the Neolithic period was, but when I looked that up, and when I started seeing how it was the axe was used for to defend and protect, and it was used to this was during the time when people cultivated plants and domesticated animals for food. That let me know right off who this was talking about. This is not talking about our ancestors' family. This is during the Ptolemaic period. This is when the Europeans has come in and started this type of a lifestyle because we did not domesticate our animals and use them for food. Our ancestors didn't do anything like that. As a matter of fact, our holy prophet got a whole chapter in the Zooming of a Nation where he tells us not to eat anything, basically eat anything with a face on it, eat anything that's trying to run for its life to get away from you, to keep you from eating it. And so when I saw that, I knew right off that what period this was coming from, that this was dealing with the Europeans. And also when I thought about the axe, I also thought about, it reminded me of our scimitar being sharp, and how we can take that scimitar and use it to cut away any negativity that would try to rise up from our lower self. We can take that axe and just chop it up. on because it's sharp on both sides, and just chop up all those old negative thoughts or that negativity that might come our way, and just chop it up and cut it down as soon as it tries to raise its old negative head up. So gratitude, family, these are my 7 words that I went into book Mustafa and picked out, and hopefully I got it right, but that was my understanding of what we were supposed to do. So gratitude, that's my measure. Islam.
Islam, Sister Curta Bay, we give honors to you for that drawing. And I want to kind of put you on the spot for a minute. You know, nothing bad. You know, I would like to see in collective, if you were to using those 7 signs, you know, after having that information that you have now, studying the nature of these signs, and we know we can go further and further, you know, just expanding upon these signs, and each one that you have explained, we can actually utilize these particular portions of information and data to actually better the self. You know, you could actually, if you was to take one, so to speak, and just study it for a whole day, it's a multitude of lessons and information that will come forth. You know, this is why we say a picture is worth 1,000 words, even more. But like when we go further into this, if you were to combine all of those signs that you have together, you know, in a format as they are engraved upon a monument, you know, what would be your metaphysical transliteration, just combining all these together, just by giving an explanation of all of those? How would you explain that? Just off the head. It ain't got to be nothing special, you know, to the extent where you got to stress. But how would you express that as special thought? Islam.
Well, I would express that thought. You know, dealing with the frog, the cat, the ears, the heart, the star, the and the axe. To apply it to my life, it would make me it could make me stronger, because I could use that axe to cut away all the things that are not conducive to being a god, being a goddess. And for as the heart, dealing with the heart, our prophets say, purify our heart and our mind. So as I continue to unfold and grow, I could use that when I'm thinking about the heart and the ears too, because I'm hearing the prophet's teachings, and I'm taking his teachings and purifying my heart, so I can be the goddess that I'm supposed to be. I can be that fire-pointed open green star. I can be the man, the man, which the star represents. And when it talks about the frog, I'm thinking of the color, the green, getting the prophet's teachings and all of these teachings. I can apply it to my life and be productive, be what I'm looking for, the word I'm looking for, to green symbolizes fertility. To be that still ain't the word I'm looking for, but I can use that to help better me, to help be productive, to help be more productive in my walk, and as a goddess, to help others to bring forth fruit and things of this nature.
Islam. Powerful, powerful. You know, it's just something special about that heart as well, because for some reason, if you take, you know, the heart and looking at the way it's spelled, and you take the T off of the end of the special word, then you have here, right?
Yeah.
But if you eliminate the first letter, the H, and you eliminate the T in the H, I mean the first letter, the H, and the T and the H on the end, then you have ear.
Right.
So you know, we see that to hear, you know, with the ear, is to hear with the ear of the seat of the consciousness then, huh?
Yes, Islam.
Yeah, that's powerful. And even when we go into the aspect, if we were to take, the H off the front, then we have earth,
Yeah, that's right.
and man, we can just go on and on with this demonstration.
Islam.
Goodness gracious.
Goodness gracious.
All right, praise be to Allah. Now I understand why the great God Allah said he placed a Khalifa in the earth.
Mm-hmm.
See, a lot of people think that just being man put on the manifest, but the Khalifa being placed in the earth actually represent the consciousness of the divinity of the Most High that has been placed in this body that we call the earth.
Right.
Islam.
Islam.
That's why we move from the center to the outer bound. Gratitude, goddess and queen, for your mission.
Gratitude, peace, and love.
And this was an overnight measure here, so
Yeah. I didn't have time to really trying to study, and it was quick, but like I said, I just went within and I said, okay, Holy Prophet, I got you out front, and this is what I come up with. Islam.
Praise be to Allah.
Gratitude, peace, and love. Islam. I'm gonna stop sharing.
All right.
Islam.
Gratitude. All right. Islam. All right. Next scribe.
Islam,
Grand Secretary of the State.
praise Allah. Islam Moorishkin. First of all, I want to rise, giving all praises to our Father God Allah, giving honor to our Prophet, Noble Drew Ali, the last prophet in these days and times, giving honor to Act 1, giving honor to our Consul General of Iowa, Dr. Bati Bey, for opening our meeting according to law. Also to our National Assistant Grand Secretary of State, Dr. Dendra Niakurta Bey, for reading our subject chapter for the week. And giving honor to you, our National Assistant Grand Sheikh of Moorish America, Dr. Shedo Amenti El Mohedjed Shepsuel, for hosting our Grand E.A.R.S class, to our scribes and all of our family online. I'm going to share my screen.
All right, you in queue, Grand Secretary of the State.
Gratitude. And giving honor to our scribes, and also giving honor to Dr. Dendra Niakurta Bey for that grand presentation. Gratitude, goddess. Does everybody see my screen?
Islam.
Oh yeah, we see it well. Islam.
Gratitude. So our assignment was to use Mustafa Gondola's Egyptian hieroglyph metaphysical language book to find 7 signs. Study the nature of the signs of your preference and give a Moorish exegesis using the teachings of our Moorish Holy Quran. So I started with the horse and basically the attributes. It says the various attributes are all related to the horse. Specific attribute will be determined by the context. The horse symbolizes fortitude and confidence. It's also the hieroglyphic symbol for noble. It represents the driving force that, when directed correctly, will lead to nobility. It's depicted defeating forces of chaos. The divine man is depicted on Egyptian temples as charging and defeating chaotic forces, represented as foreigners and wild animals. And also, these depictions are symbolic representations of the inner battle within, between the forces of good and evil. In Egyptian traditions, the human tongue is equated to a horse, which I say, well, because the prophet speaks about that tongue. The tongue is the strongest muscle in the human body. The driving force of the horse or tongue control your destiny. So, we are often encouraged, instructed by our prophet, how we've got to guard our tongue, and thought is the cause of it all. When we look at, this was just a definition of fortitude, which brings to mind the principles that we stand upon, dealing with strength of character, strong-mindedness or firmness of purpose, spirit, resolution. These attributes that we can identify coming from the higher self within ourselves. So as far as the exegesis is concerned, with firmness of purpose, the building of the temple of perfected man, one realized that there are many tests to be conquered within the self. And prior to the advent of Prophet Noble Drew Ali in my life, I did not have a clue that, as opposed to looking outside of myself, this person got me upset, or I didn't like how that situation went down. The actual conquering is to be done within the self. So the higher self is human spirit clothed with soul, made in the form of Allah. And the higher self, that Hierophant within, is the embodiment of truth. So study self, so that we can be able to overcome those things that are negative and not of a benefit when it comes down to the building of the temple of perfected man. Hold on. Okay. The next one is dealing with the lion and lioness. The lion symbolizes strength, majesty, power, dominion, etc. The lioness represents the den mother with all that implies: passionate, protective, tender, loving, caring, supportive, and encouraging. The lioness is represented in ancient Egypt as Sekhmet. This is actually two words, Sek and Mut, meaning elder or the den mother. Represents the fiery aspect of the creative power. And looking at the exegesis for that, I thought about the strength and protection. Without a foe, a soldier never knows his strength, and thought must be developed by the exercise of strength. So just like how we go to the gym to try to tone up our special muscles and get in shape, we also have to do that when it comes down to our thought pattern. And so this carnal nature soon became a foe that man must fight, that he might be the strength of Allah made manifest. So when you look at it from that perspective, recognizing that you are here for a purpose of divinity, and that in order to do that, you've got to overcome and master that lower aspect as far as hatred, desires, competition, and all of those things that keep you bound down to this plane of things made manifest. Next one, I selected the pig. As a wild animal, it represents the wild aspect of creation, and therefore the wild pig is considered one of Seth's accomplices / animals. Of course, I went over there on Google, what are the 5 facts about Seth, the Egyptian god, just as a frame of reference. And it has Seth or Set, ancient Egyptian god and patron of the 11th nome or province of Upper Egypt, a trickster. He was a sky god, lord of the desert, and master of storms, disorder, and warfare. He was the brother of Osiris, whom he killed, and he was antagonistic to Horus, the child of Osiris's sister Isis. Now, I put a note in here because the ancient Kemethian names of Asar, Aset, and Haru were renamed when it came down to the Greeks as Osiris, Isis, and Horus. And I know when I first began studies into Kemet, it was often confusing, not recognizing, dealing with the Ptolemaic period, how things were remixed, renamed, specifically for the purpose of keeping us bound down to ignorance as far as our culture and history are concerned. As far as the exegesis regarding the symbol of the pig, the soul is symbolic of the wilderness. And I just pulled a couple of ayats out the Quran where it speaks about Yehoshua, and he went forth into the wilderness to be alone with Allah, that he might look into his inner heart and note its strength and worthiness. Yehoshua, and this is him speaking again, and with himself he talked, my lower self is strong, by many ties I am bound down to carnal life. Have I the strength to overcome and give my life a willing sacrifice for men? And see, oftentimes when we speak of that pig mindset, it's dealing with greed and dealing in the excesses of life, because we are taught one of our principles is dealing with temperance, moderation. So these piggish mindset are also aspects of our lower nature that we've got to overcome. The next symbol was the heron, the stork, phoenix. The phoenix was identified by the Egyptians as a stork or heron-like bird called a benu or benu. It represents rebirth as the manifestation of the resurrected Osiris, or bringer of new life. The stork returns to its own nest, representing the soul returning to its source of divinity. I thought that was profound there. Asar or Osiris represents the divine in a mortal form that lives, dies, and is reborn again, representing the state of gaining/regaining consciousness. That again was profound because, coming from a state of Christianity, in which the aspect of reincarnation is not given, then this brings about, we have lessons to learn, and one's soul is going to tarry many ages until all of your lessons are learned. So as far as my exegesis of the heron, death is pulling from a couple of chapters in the Quran. Death is no enemy of man. It is a friend who, when the work of life is done, just cuts the cord that binds the human boat to earth, that it may sail on smoother seas. The cause of death are always for the best, for we are solving problems there as well as here, and one is sure to find himself where he can solve his problems best. And then the other aspect, when Yehoshua had sent a letter to his mother because his earthly father had passed or transitioned, his work in this earth round is done, and it is nobly done. In all the walks of life, men cannot charge him with deceit, dishonesty, nor wrong intent. Here in this round, he finished many heavy tasks, and he has gone hence, prepared to solve the problems of the round of soul. Our Father-in-law is with him there as he was with him here, and there his angel guards his footsteps lest he goes astray. So my take from this was, in dealing with the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, when we look at it from the aspect of reincarnation, that you're going to continue to go through that cycle until you master all of your lessons and unfold unto your creator, your Father God Allah. That also lets us know that spirit man can't die. And a lot of times our people have been controlled due to the fear of death. So this knocks all of that out the window when it comes down to spirit man can't die. The next one is dealing with the hare. The hare's eyes always remain open. I'm like, really? Such a physical feature symbolizes cosmic metaphysical concepts for the ever open, watchful divine eyes. The long ears of this animal also signifies the divine hearing/listening. And so when we look at the hare exegesis, through love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, all men are one and equal to seek their own destiny and to worship under their own vine and fig tree, after the principles of the holy and divine laws of their forefathers. So being able to recognize the God within the self. The only limitations we have are the limitations that we place upon ourselves. When we put limitations like just restrict ourselves to a certain mindset, or I can't do this, or it's too hard, then we are in essence putting a blockage between ourselves and our creator. And also recognizing the fact that evil is not a requirement for us, because we are a spirit and a part of the great God Allah. So we don't have to have it. Contrary to how we came up in reference to man was born in sin. Nothing could be further from the truth. When we look at the feather, the tall ostrich plume / feather represents the weightlessness of the... Hold on one second, Morris. Okay, he might call again. So spread a lot more. The tall ostrich plume feather represents the weightlessness of the tread of the truth, usually identified with Ma'at by a feather of truth mounted on her head. And we can read more about the uses of the feather dealing with Ma'at, the measure of pure consciousness and the typical weighing of the heart process at Judgment Day in Egyptian Divinities by Mustafa Gondola. Now, the heart, which contained a record of all the deceased actions in life, was weighed against the feather of the goddess Ma'at. This feather was the symbol for truth and justice and helped determine whether the deceased person had indeed been virtuous. And the exegesis, let me bring this up a little bit. The feather exegesis: he who knows well his lower self knows the illusions of the world, knows of the things that pass away. And he who knows well his higher self knows Allah, knows well the things that cannot pass away. Thrice blessed is the man who has made purity and love his very own. He has been ransomed from the perils of the lower self and is himself his higher self. So we are constantly battling a battle within ourself to stay within our higher self or our higher state of consciousness, to be able to conquer those negative thinkings or those demons within. So, coming up thinking that the devil is outside of myself, the devil made me do it, and that's the responsibility is your own negative thinking. We're the ones that have got to conquer that in order for us to unfold into the God state. Last one, dealing with dogs. The dog/jackal represents the right sense of direction, the divine guide. It is famous for its reliable homing instinct day or night. The dog is very useful in searches and is the animal of choice to guide the blind. It is an excellent choice for guiding the soul of the deceased through the regions of the dust. The metaphysical role of the dog is reflected in his diet. The dog/jackal feasts on carrion, turning it into beneficial nourishment. I thought about alchemy. In other words, it represents the capacity to turn waste into useful food for the body and soul. And also, the dog represents absolute loyalty. I thought about in Acts 7, where it speaks about having the name of faithful, which is what our National Assistant Grand Sheik had brought out. That's something that has to be earned. You can't just, I'm faithful. It doesn't work like that. And the dog is also identified as being Sirius, the dog star, which is related to the star of Isis or Set, the great provider, the dwelling place of the universal mother, Isis. And during very remote periods of ancient Egyptian history, Isis was associated with the star Sirius, the brightest star in heaven, which was called the great provider, and whose annual rising ushered in the Nile's inundation. Egypt's ingenious and very accurate calendar was based on the observation and the study of Sirius's movements in the sky. Exegesis for dog, I thought about the prayer, especially when it speaks about Allah as my protector and my guide and my salvation by night and by day. So whether I'm moving and walking in the low, dealing with a negative thought pattern, or whether I'm functioning, keeping it above the neck, dealing with remembering the consciousness that I and my creator are one. That's what caused me to reflect upon that, dealing with at all times, no matter what. We've got that protection of Allah as long as we are continuing to demonstrate love to each other, because it's only through the purification of the thought pattern that we are able to unfold into the consciousness of who we are as gods. And so just as far as sourcing, there was the majority of this was from the Egyptian hieroglyph metaphysical language by Mustafa Gondola, and there were a couple of items for Google search. Islam?
In Islamism, without the schism, we give honors to you for that grand drawing, most powerful measure brought forth from our father's treasures, Grand Secretary of the State. And if you were to give, a brief exegesis, of your measure with all of the symbols and the signs combined, what would be your transliteration? Just off of the head. Islam.
Transliteration based upon the things is that I've got to continually keep Allah out front, demonstrating, recognizing the fact that I've got that constant battle with my lower self, but I've also been given tools to use to be able to eradicate that. So my true nature, dealing with the God state, automatically has strength, automatically has protection, and I've got to. And looking at the hair, in reference to that ever watchful eye, got to constantly be on my post, because if I allow myself to go to sleep, which the prophet said, Moors, you sleep too much, or wake up. If I allow myself to go to sleep, which means to be lulled into a state of unconsciousness, and then unconsciousness, then that opens up the door for all kinds of demons of the lower self. So my aspect, moving constantly, is to keep it above the neck. Live that, so that when it comes down for judgment of self, because I am self determining and self-governing, then I want the heart, dealing with the mindset, to be light as a feather, so that my virtues or my good deeds will outweigh anything negative that I may have done. Islam?
Islam. Grand National Secretary of the State, most powerful measure. Praise be to Allah. And indeed, it's a grand drawing to be able to read the book of creation, and our ancestors was most definitely adept at that. So we give honors to you, scribe, for that drawing. All right, Islamism. Next scribe.
Islam.
Islam.
Islam. Okay. Oh, here we go. And share screen. Entire window. Bam. Okay. Now let's see. I had oh my Lord. 1 second. I'm trying to go to easy. Y'all don't see my messages. Goodness gracious. Okay. And bam. I chose the Islam. Praise and honor previous given. I chose the Ram. One of the Ram, because prior to me even understanding what this was, I did have a little, what is it called, an apparition about the Ram, and the whole time I didn't know that it was the mind. When you look at the if you look at the horns on a ram, right, and you look at this, and I'm not going to say the whole mind, but you could. But if you look at this picture, the ram and what it symbolizes, it's the forebrain, and it's the brain stem, and you can see this. You can see the in this part of it, you see these horns that go backwards and come under, right? And you see that on the same thing as the ram.
Islam?
So, Islam, can you hear me?
Are you doing something? Are you showing your screen?
Islam. Yeah. Hold up, Grand man. Let me try to. Okay, there we go.
Okay, so I chose the ram, and the crazy thing is, when I was younger, my dad used to say I got a head like a goat, right? And that was him, saying basically you're hard headed, but not understanding looking at it now, what this symbolizes, it is the brain stem. Now, see, I'm gonna shrink this down just a wee bit so we can get a. Oh no, what is going on here? Okay. All right, let me go up a little bit then. So if you look at the ram and how those horns they go back and curl under. Well, this is the same thing as when it talks about the brain stem. How these, you see the split right there in the center, the split right there, and then it goes over and comes back, right? It's also from a distance. It also looks like a what is it, the little horse fish, the little horse looking fish. I forgot what they're called. Seahorse. They look like seahorse too. So, and I'll get to that later. So I'm going to read what Mustafa Gadala has said about the ram, and that's what you're going to see written down here. If you see most of the intakes is his portion, and then just my part. So this is just his portion right there of what. And it goes down further, but it gives his explanation that I'm gonna read right now. So it says various attributes are related to the ram. The specific attribute will be determined by the context. The Egyptian hieroglyphics show one type of ram with horizontal horns in wall depictions and statues. There are two distinct rams: the looped horn ram, which is this one. You see what I'm saying? The looped horn ram that refers to manifestation aspects and creation, such as the zodiac Aries age that last begun about 2300 BCE. It says the horizontal horns that refers to the conceptual aspect of creation as represented by Cunham. Our focus here will be on the hieroglyphs ram with the long horizontal horns. The ram in ancient Egypt is called Ba. Ba has several interrelated meanings. A, the vehicle of the universal spirit. B, the embodiment of power, vital force. Now, I want you to pay attention to that vital force. Vital force. I want y'all to pay attention to that. And it says C, the external manifestation of power. That's also something to keen in on. It says all of the above represents Cunham as an aspect of the creative force of Re. Cunham represents the divine process aspect of sharpening and forming, or shaping and forming the universe, both physically and metaphysically. There are 75 forms or aspects of Re, and Cunham is one of these aspects. Cunham represents the embodiment of creative force of Re. The animal in which Cunham became incarnate was the ram, with flat horns projecting at right angles to his head. Cunham is depicted in some contexts as a ram-headed bird. This bird represents the Ba of Re, the all-encompassing. Now, when I was looking at the function, and the reason why I say think about the vital force, it says one of the interrelated meanings is the embodiment of vital forces. Well, the brain stem controls a lot of your vital forces, the subconscious functions of the body. So the fact that you don't have to tell yourself to breathe, the pumping of the blood, the firing of your neurons, you don't have to tell those things to fire. That is what it naturally does, because this is the portion that is controlling those what do they call it? I just had it on the tip of my tongue. What was it? They control the oh man, can't stand when I lose it like that. But it's there it goes, the automating functions of the body. And I'm gonna go down. Now I didn't get around to get all 7. But that's what I was saying. I was reading this part right here. And the brainstem is responsible for regulating several important functions, such as maintaining balance, posture, regulating blood pressure, breathing, hearing, heart rhythms, facial sensations, and swallowing. So you got to understand that this is something that brainstem right there is basically the governor of your body. It governs really the 12 bodily systems. It regulates the 12 bodily systems. Okay, so then when I was thinking about what we're in the Most Holy Quran illustrates this at. Now, instantly, chapter 1. We just go into chapter 1 because that goes into how the breakdown of the creation of fallen man, right? Goes down to the breakdown and creation of fallen man. But it instantly took me to the soul of man. And it says the blessings in chapter 60, holy instructions from the prophet, the soul of man, the blessings, O man, of the external part, health, vigor, and proportion. The greatest of these is health. What health is to the body, even that is honesty to the soul. Yet, where both of those components of health is to the body, is honesty to the soul. They both reside in the what we call the brain. Okay, it says that thou, a soul, is of all knowledge, that most certain of all truths, the most plain unto thee. Be meek and grateful for it. Seek not to know it perfectly. It is inscrutable. Okay, and then it says thinking, understanding, reasoning, and willing. Call not these the soul. They are its actions, but they are not its essence. Okay. Did I have anything else on this? So yeah, so while the red, and this is something that I was thinking, it says, while I was thinking about the ram, it took me to the thought of the 12 zodiac. The 12 zodiacs are a part of the celestial body. Then that was kind of that's what he said in the Mustafa Gadala said. He said there's 74 parts of Re. Re is the universal, the universe. Okay, but I would say for me, when I was thinking, it says the 12 parts of the zodiac of the celestial, the 12 parts of the zodiac are the celestial body that got split up by Set. And I said that because Asar had got, he got decapitated. I think it was more pieces than that. I just threw that out there as a kind of reference point, and then brought back together by Set and defended and proclaimed by Horus. Well, if you think about the ram and go into the aspects of a ram, you will see that it does defend, but more so the portion of the brainstem. That's what this brainstem does. It makes sure the body functions. It also protects the body in its capacity by letting everything do what it properly does without impeding upon another. If the being is actually taking care of themselves, and that goes back to the health and vigor and vital. And if you think about the vital forces, they call it everything functioning in your body your vitals. That's what in nursing and doctors and all, they call it your vitals, right? There's just some aspect. So then I went into this guy, this serpent, okay? And the serpent is tricky. Serpent is very tricky because in the same sense that it has two heads. This one has two heads, and the reason why, you'll see why I brought that up later, but it also symbolizes of the mind. It also symbolizes they're talking about the brain in its whole, the stem of your spinal cord into your brain. And if you think about the spinal cord, how it comes into your brain, if you isolate that picture, it looks in reference to how a cobra is, right? And this is just my understanding. This ain't the understanding, it's just mine. So I'm gonna go into the serpent, what Mustafa Gadala has. Various attributes are all related to the serpent. The specific attributes will be determined by the context as being either good or evil. Various hieroglyphs are used to correspond to variations of purpose and action: repose, erect, coiled, etc. Serpents represent various aspects, such as one, to symbolize the dual nature of creation. The serpent represents the dualizing principle, the ability of one to divide into two. Looking at a serpent, it represents unity with its undifferentiated length. It is unity that contains the power that results in duality. In pre-creation, the female aspect of pre-creation are represented as serpents, with the tails being held to represent the potential creation powers within. The serpent, which is remarkably individualistic animal, bears both a forked tongue, verbal duality, and a double penis, sexual duality. The serpent, being the most flexible animal, represents the provider of all the various forms of creation. Nihib Kau, Nahib Kau, meaning the provider of forms, attributes qualities, was the name given to the serpent, representing the primordial serpent / spiral in ancient Egypt. Nahib Kau is depicted as a two-headed serpent, indicative of a dual spiral nature of the universe. 2, to symbolize divine intellect. As a symbol of duality, the serpent represents intellect, the faculty by which man can break down the whole into its constituent parts. This is analogous to creation in the sense that multiplicity is created out of unity. And if you remember the litany of the universe, what was it? It's a thing that we watched on in one of our E.A.R.S class. It's the cosmology of the universe. When it talks about the one coming out of two, right? And multiplicity is created out of unity. And 3, symbol of potency of creation. The ability to multiply is a female aspect. As such, the form of a serpent was the hieroglyphic symbol and used to represent the Netert, or goddess. The female aspect, the Netert goddess, represents the active, potent power in the universe. 4, the power of opposition. And they say opposition equates with evil because they think that if anything that opposes you is automatically evil. That's not necessarily true, but that's the context that is put in, because he has evil in brackets. So just because something opposes you doesn't mean it's evil. It just means that as I'm gonna read from here. It says the creation cycle dictates that the multiplicity will be reunited into the original unity again. To achieve reunification, the dualizing nature symbolized by the serpent must be resisted. Apep, Apopis, is a coiled serpent, a form of Set representing the power of opposition to resurrection. Okay, so that means staying dead. You might, if you are dead, you know that you, and if you are dead, you have the ability to resurrect. You know what I'm saying? We all have come out of a dead state. Everybody in our North American government, most people that are coming to their own form, their own way of consciousness, had that duality. They came back from a state of death and has resurrected, even out of situations that you thought that before you thought that you wouldn't make it through. That was a form of death and resurrection in itself. But one thing that I like about this, in the duality of the snake, is that when you realize that opposition is not negative, it's not evil. And the craziest thing is when you view all the things that you've been through as not an evil source, but more so opposing, because they show in physics that if you have a thing that goes into the valleys, they put a ball on this track, and one was on a kind of like it was tilted just a little bit, maybe a 2% fall on this track, and they put a ball bearing on it, and they rode real slow. They had another one that had valleys and peaks, and so the one that had the ball bearing that had to go through the valleys of peaks reached its end or its purpose faster because it had those valleys and peaks. Now, the same thing with the duality of the mind. And now your mind plays tricks on you. And sometimes the things that are good, you will make evil. You will make it a opposition to you because you didn't fully take in all the things. You didn't fully digest it. And the thing about a snake is when a snake eats something, it takes approximately 7 days for it to digest. You know what I'm saying? And this speaks to the fact of when we say you should think, 1 second, that you should think 7 times about something. So you should take your time. You should take a creation 7 days to digest information. You shouldn't just jump into it. You shouldn't act on it. And that's with anything. You shouldn't just automatically go off into what it is just because it was presented before your face, because it may turn into your own destruction. Now, I've used the chapter 60 as an explanation for this because it says, do it not the sun that harden the clay, do it not also soften the wax, as it is one sun that worketh both, even so it is the soul that willeth the contraries. So that's really, and then it goes back into the state of doubt is of your own raising. So any doubt that you have, you raised the doubt. The doubt wasn't presented with the information. It's on you to how you gonna work whatever it is that come into your essence. How you gonna work that, and but it could also be to good. It could also be to bad if you didn't do your investigation. If you didn't take that time to digest what was put before you, and that's why I say the snake is tricky. Because if you think about a two-headed snake, that is also the opposition of as above, so below. The reason why as above, so below can be an opposition is because if your mind's not strong enough, you are going to wreak havoc in your own life by what you don't know. You're gonna wreak havoc. If you don't take the time to investigate for yourself, you are going to wreak havoc in your own life, and it's by your own soul that you may push off on somebody else because you didn't take the responsibility for it. You do the investigation behind it. The other thing that I say I like about the metaphysical aspects of the snakes is it is not in and this is another ayah out of the most holy Quran. It is not in the flesh to think, and it's not in the bones to reason. A snake will shed its skin, right? So this allows the ability to grow and allows old information and thought patterns to fall off or be outgrown. And yet you still retain your constitution. So that doesn't mean that because somebody says that you're hung up, for instance, you're hung up on being black. Somebody say you're not black, you're a Moor. The reason why you can't be black or Negro, because in that Dungy versus Spencer case, it says it's illegal to be a Negro, but it's not illegal to have dark skin. You see what I'm saying? So he was letting them know legally it's illegal to be black. It's illegal not to have a nationality. But my client, he says, is a Moor. So he brought him back into the aspects of being alive and a part of the human family. Black is not a part of that. So therefore, when somebody presents you with this, it gives you the ability to outgrow it. But you in your own, and I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about the thought pattern. Again, you know what I'm saying? The thought pattern of a person that says that they black doesn't constitute the thoughts of freedom. They constitute the thoughts of having granted privileges. Because freedom is a whole nother realm and marking. So this is the snake that you're slithering on your belly as black because you think that you got some privileges and you really don't. So you haven't really outgrown that to rise up. And that's what they talk about. Also, the Kundalini power is rising up and being that essence of God. That's why it can be whatever what you know can hurt you, or it can excel you. And a snake, so go down a little bit further. So when we look about the other aspects of a snake is mean. Like if you didn't see a snake and the snake just struck up and bit you, it's cunning. It has advantage points of points everywhere. So that means it can attack you from the ground and it can attack you from above your head, right? And this goes back when I'm thinking that there's a greater devil on every level. So you have to you get these attacks in your mind about the doubt and what you think you can or can't do, and then the world you in the physical world you may be putting emotions and you may be going through a hardship, and so you forget the capability of the power of who you are because you have coiled in and let those poisonous thoughts come in, which also if you think about something that's poisonous, something that's poison, that means it can affect other areas of your life. It can destroy other parts of your life. It can shut down functions. If you think about something constrict, it can move you. Fear has that same ability to constrict your movements and mental agility. You see what I'm saying? Same thing, poison can cause paralysis in a thought pattern, which will cause you to freeze in that thought pattern, and you can't outthink that thought pattern because that's something that you always thought. Wow. Or like in a book in Exhuman of the Nation, where he says, if you do what you always done, you'll get what you always gotten. So in that aspect, you got to look at the snake, the same sun that hardens the clay, softens the wax. Another paradigm that I'm gonna give with this is that to show the semblance of a snake is, it says the same thought pattern that it costs to get $1 is the same thought activity that it costs to get $1 million. It's just a paradigm on how you are able to pull yourself up into the thing. The same mind that can do evil can do good. You see what I'm saying? So that's all of the part of that too about the snake. Now, getting into the vulture. Let me read the vulture. I'm going to this book. Various attributes are related to the vulture. The specific attributes will be determined by the context. The vulture represents barrenness. Or not being able to, barrenness is, I believe, is not being able to build children, not kids, because we ain't goats. But the vulture is also symbol of virgin birth. In other words, purity. The vulture expresses the concept of virgin birth because the female vulture gets impregnated by exposing herself to the spray of a male without any bodily contact. The most prominent example is that of the Virgin Mother Isis and her child Horus, Madonna and the child. The vulture represents Mut, the assimilative power with all that it implies. The vulture is responsible to be particularly zealous in caring for its young ones. Now, when I was thinking about this was kind of cold-blooded, and all these tie in too. All these tie in together, wonderfully. And the reason why the vulture, where it says that a virgin birth, and this is what the rays have gave me, is that the virgin birth is the spirit, is being the spirit being born, because the spirit is from Allah, right? But it's still an essence unto itself, but it has to have some type of substance given unto it. And so if the universe is what they will, if it says that the vulture was able to be sprayed by the male and in order to give birth, that means that your spirit, in essence, to house this body that we call was of virgin birth. The spirit aspect of it. I'm not talking about the physical aspect. I'm not talking about the soul. I'm talking about the actual indestructible God essence that's in you. You see what I'm saying? That was of virgin birth. And to say that one is of virgin birth means that he is spirit. He is personified the characteristics of being in pure spirit, and being pure spirit is being pure godlike. Right? Okay, so man is not a thought. Man is a thought of Allah, All thoughts of Allah are infinite, but man himself is not the body nor the soul. Oh, that said nor the should. It said meant soul. He is a spirit and a part of Allah. And then the other aspect of that to tie in what I said before about the snake, it says, without a foe, a soldier never knows his own strength, and thought must be developed by the exercise of strength. Well, in that case, and that was just to tie in the snake with the vulture. But what a vulture symbolizes is death, rebirth, patience, and protection. So death, rebirth, patience, and protection. Every time that you are presented, you are given some new information about your spiritual essence, who you truly are, how you are truly made, how beautifully and wonderfully you are truly made. There is a death in the old thought pattern and reborn in the new way for moving forward from that point. But it takes patience in order to get to that. And we are really personifying the essence of what the vulture, the snake, and the ram, we are personifying all those or in the physical manifestation of what we see with our own signals, our own eyes, so to speak. And those are my three that I did put some what I thought to it. So that leaves a common piece. It's not.
Islam and gratitude, brother, for the measure. Praise be to Allah. And Islam, what would be your particular measure if you were to sum everything up, with those symbols metaphysically?
It's all your fault. No, I'm playing. But it's everything that you go through is really of you. It's all whatever you're going through is your fault. And I said that because it's the way that you take in information from understanding the aspect of duality, and that the brain, the ram is one. You got to think a ram is always aware too. It's paying attention to what's around it, because the predatory nature of its climate, wherever it's at, wherever it exists, it's always being aware. We don't give ourselves the ability to be aware. So when I'm thinking about that, is the mind being able to be aware, but also being in protection of our thoughts at all times. So we have to monitor that Kundalini snake, that we're not going to go veer off into evil. And everything that we go through doesn't have to be evil. It could be it's just an opposition to make us grow, to reborn, to rebirth ourselves, as does the snake shed its skin, as does the vulture symbolizes death and rebirth. So we have those capabilities that in essence the snake, the vulture, and the ram are telling us that your God essence is within you. It's not without. It's not anything outside yourself, but it's you. And how are you going to keep and to keep and monitor of your God essence at all times and all aspects of it? Because the things that you can take on, the situations, you got a right to choose. It reminds me of that Indian or Siberian paradigm where they say you got two wolves living in you. You got a white wolf and a black wolf, and it says that the white wolf does the good and the black wolf is the evil. So it's just depending on how you take something. And if we are monitored, we will see that everything is going to end up being good for us. It's for our benefit. That's what I got out of all that. I don't know, but that's my understanding.
Islam. And gratitude, brother, for the measure. Praise be to Allah, scribe. All right. Well, all right. We see our brother Marvin Edwards Bay has finally made his way in. So let's see. Did the brother get the assignment? Islam, brother. Marvin Edwards Bay. Did you get the assignment, good brother?
Islam, yes, sir. I got the assignment, but I really didn't get the time because, I'm not making any excuses, but, I work at night, and I was going to do it like when I got home this morning at about 7 o'clock or so. Then I fell asleep. So yeah, I didn't get a chance to. So I'm playing catch up, and pardon for being late to the class. Don't want to interrupt anything, but yeah, I'm still striving. Islam.
Islam. Praise be to Allah. Islamism without the schism.
And if I may, I would like to just give my praise and honors,
Yeah, all is well.
gratitude. Okay, well, yes, I'm Dr. Marvin Elvis B, Consul General of the Texas Consulate, rising. And as I continue to rise by praising the great God Allah, praising Allah, and giving highest honors to his prophet, our prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, Al-Haj Sheikh Sharif Abdul Ali. I give high honors to our theocratic government, our Moorish American government. I give high honors to our Act 1. I give high honors to all of our officials. I give high honors to this class, our E.A.R.S class, our Egyptian ADEPTUS Research Sultanate class. As well as I give honors to you, Dr. Shedu Amiti Al-Muhaji Sipswell, our National Assistant Grand Sheikh of Moorish America and host and instructor of this most powerful E.A.R.S class. As well as I give honors to those that aided in bringing forth this class this morning. Give honors to everything that is Moorish. Our flag, our seal, our emblem, our divine constitution, Holy Quran, Book of Ali, our 101, 102s, like Zooming of a Nation, all of our divine revelation, I give honor. As well as I give honors to the scribes on the panel and those that are in the audience, that is in the audience, that will be in the audience. And I just say, yeah, gratitude for letting me in the class. But the body took over, so to speak, or it commanded attention and gratitude for allowing me to speak Islam at this very powerful class.
And gratitude for the measure, brother. Praise be to Allah. Islamism without the schism. And we give honors to you for all that you do, all that you will do, and all that you plan to do. It's been a grand draw, and just hearing from all of our scribes give their various different measures, and everything it is that has been brought forth up to this particular point. Our Moorish kin did a grand job as we are going into letting our people know exactly how these signs and symbols were represented and utilized, by the ancients. This is not something that we just came up with, by chance. It's all about understanding that what we call hieroglyphics are sacred inscriptions, are engravings. These are actually different expressions of what we call didactic art. And didactic art is a means of being able to teach people by signs and symbols. And we always said over and over again, signs and symbols of conscious mind, and for conscious mind and men and women understanding. And we also understand that this was the same methodology that our beloved brother Yehoshua, some people call him Isa, Jesus. This is what he went through when he went through his initiation. We have him actually going through the chambers of ancient Kemet. And we put this out there not long ago, but all of these different signs and symbols can be found. And our ancestors didn't do this by chance. A lot of this came forth by means of divine design. This is not strange happening or anything, that you can find these things. If we give honors to our family for all that they have done, the teaching has always been as it is above, so it is below, as it is within, so it is without. I give you a prime example. I'm gonna share my screen real quick here and just touch on a few things. We want to give honors to our family that's out there watching us, the faithful, who always been grateful for these lessons that we've been demonstrating and tuning in. And some of our people don't have it to where they can stomach, these type of measures, at least mentally stomach them. You know, these are measures that was put out here recently by different people that are also recognizing, you know, the didactic art form, you know, of the measures of Kemet. And if you look at this, you know, with the statuettes of Osiris or Osar, you know, in shrouded form, you know, one has been able to identify, you know, with this same expression here, you know, as a representation of the brain stem. And that's the beauty of the ancient Kemetic knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, that you can have multiple views of expression, so to speak. This is the human brain from Sagittal view, so to speak. And we can see that this is being depicted, you know, as Alsar, so to speak. Here's another measure that's actually going further in detail, showing us the same thing, but emphasizing on the Atef crown. You know, and we're looking at the Atef crown as it relates to the olfactory nerves. And when we understand these nerves, because, you know, we have 12 cranial nerves in the brain. You know, I like to call these the executive rulers, so to speak. You know, the human brain from an axial view. We can see this being demonstrated here. You can find a lot of this stuff just by Googling it, and you'll see various different expressions. We showed our family certain measures. You know, the human brain again. Then you see the pawns and what they represent alone, how this is being equated with the torso. You know, and you see the crossover feature here, which is synonymous like with what's going on with the crook and the flail, which really represent power and sovereignty. So your power and sovereignty come from the expression of your pawns, so to speak, you know, the brain. Then you have the medulla oblongata, the medulla, so to speak, you know, and these represent the fused legs according to, you know, these expressions. You know, then they go further here into different aspects where they make a lot of different depictions in, you know, the Karnak ram expression here, the ram snout, and how this is dealing with the ventricles, you know, showing it in contrast with the MRI brain scan. So all of this stuff, and a lot of this goes into a sacred art form, you know, that's also related to sacred geometry. And we can see this found throughout different cultural expressions. See, they compared the human brain stem here to the Mesopotamian Ishtar. You see, in Anna. And we can see here, if we pay attention to all of these measures, we can find some form of the art form expressing itself. Here's another expression again of that Atef crown upon the head of Cunham here. You see? See it here in the brain again. The dencephalon, and then we have the human brain axial view again emphasizing the Atef crown. You see, so this is just powerful in and of itself. You know, the Venus of Willendorf, you know, they show this right here as it relates to the wireframe brain stem expression. You know, you can find a lot of these things being expressed, and that's actually the last measure there. You can find a lot of this stuff being expressed if you look good enough. You know, again, signs and symbols of a conscious mind, men and women understanding. So what I did, I tried to do this as we were here. I want to read this particular message from our brother Mustafa Gadala and what he said about images. We got a few measure excerpts, you know, before we close. And it's talking about the scientific / metaphysical realities of pictorial images. So this is the original way that one of the most recent priests, Poor Apollo, and a lot of other individuals who honored his methodology, Pope Clement of Alexandria, and a couple of more, you know, that Mustafa Gadala himself quotes. You know, we got a lot of stuff we're going to give to our Moorish kin. Some of it you already have, some of it you may not have, but we're going to unfold portion by portion so that our people get it, and to understand what these pictures represent. So what are the scientific properties? Just like I showed you the art form, and as they relate to, expressing the ADEPTUS crown and all these different expressions that you can find around you, well, their scientific significance to them actually deals with the way that you are made, the way your body functions. And if we study ourselves effectively, i.e., by reading the book of creation, and we being a page or a chapter, so to speak, even a manifestation of a whole book, we can go within the self from a scientific expression and learn how to heal ourselves. Everything that we look for, whether we know it or not, when we talk about ailments and cures, is in us. You see? If we want to learn anything about creation, all we got to do is study the self. This is the greatest science material, scientific book, so to speak, that the great God Allah could have ever given us. It is ourselves. Because if we are able to study ourselves on many different levels, then we can become masters of our own destiny and masters of our environment. Lord of the plane of soul, Lord of the plane of things made manifest. So scientific and metaphysical realities of pictorial images was what Mustafa Gadala referred to. And he says images, language of the mind, consciousness / divine. And when our people are looking at Medu Neter from the standpoint of which Champollion claimed that he has deciphered in his methodology, our people are not looking at the glyphs from the standpoint of language of the mind. They're not looking at, the glyphs from the standpoint of consciousness divine. You see, we already know in our Moorish teachings, even though Mustafa Gadala is not one that study, what it is we study as far as when it deals with our Moorish teachings. I'm going to show you something here. How the truth never contradict another truth. I'm just pulling this up right here. You know what? I actually already should have a copy of our Moorish holy. There it is right there. We can do it this way right here. And I'm going to just do this real quick. Show you something. Let's see what if they'll let me do it. If not, I just erase one word. Okay, let's see it here. Okay. We already see that portion right there. It's another portion I want to go to. Hold up. I think, was that it? Hold up. Not that one. Okay, not that one. Okay, here we go right here. This particular drawing right here. And I read this in the closing of our particular last session, and this is when Yehoshua was instructing Barata Rabo. But if we come here, what we find right here, it tells us right here that these forms of life were but the thought of Allah clothed in the substance of their ether planes. Men call these ether planes the planes of protoplasm. So what is protoplasm? Protoplasm is the first life form. It deals with what they call the first man, actually at his elemental or cellular state. That's what protoplasm actually means, first formed man. And it's not talking about man in the form that you see us in our total makeup. It's talking about man in his atomic state, man in his, again, elemental state, protoplasm. Right? Man call these ether planes protoplasm. You have earth, plant, beast, of man, and angel and cherubim. Like I tell you, when you look at Medu Neter, what we call the language of God that's being depicted or inscribed upon monuments, the silent voice is speaking to one if they observe this, just as they observe creation like you scribes have done. You see, so protoplasm, study the nature of it. What is the nature of the elemental realm, as it relates to the periodical table, the mathematical mass as it relates to each element? You see, that comes into dealing with the molecules and so forth and so on. Okay, well, what about the plane of the earth? Well, we already know there are many different forms of vegetation. You know, the waters dwell on the earth. You know, within the realm of the earth, we can find all types of fruits, you know, vegetables. We can find, you know, everything that you can see. And all of these things our ancestors was able to depict, not just by putting them in stone, but understanding the very nature of these things. And we tell you all the time in the Grand Quran that before, you know, man was even physically manifest, according to the Quran, Allah has said to Adam that he would teach him, or he taught him the nature of all things. In the Piscean record, they say he was given the name. So we can really equate name and nature with attributes. So man was given the knowledge of the attributes of everything in creation, everything that would be created, that he would become the vicegerent or the governor of, a Lord of plane of soul, Lord of the plane of things made manifest. So again, within the earth, we have, you know, the plant, we have the beast, you know, which are different animals. You know, we're not talking about something savage and lowly, because these are also honorable expressions of creation. You know, so there are different various expressions. We've seen our family give you the nature of many of them here today. You know, then we have man. Then we have angel and cherubim. All of these different facets of the forms being the thought of Allah, as we call it, or we can say the thought of Neter. In other words, these Neteru, all of these are special Neteru, because that's what Neteru really represent, different expressions of creation. So if people will ask if the net is real, of course they are real. Surely you have plants around you, right? This plant carries a certain spirit that allows it to go away in a season and come back and return and so forth. And that's spirit. That's thought, activity, and action. The same thing when we deal with earth, you know, the different types of soil and so forth and so on. You know, the same thing when it comes to dealing again with the beast and the man and the angel and cherubim. All of these represent expressions of what we would call Neteru. All of these represents expressions of what we call the actions of the Elohim. See, it says it up here. From Allah's own record book, we read the triune Allah breathed forth and stood 7 spirits before his face. And the Hebrews call these 7 spirits Elohim. So in the Piscean records of the Bible, when it say that the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the deep or the waters, you know, this is that same expression right here in our Moorish Holy Quran. Who do you think the Spirit was? Elohim. And these are they who in their boundless power created everything that is or was. And these spirits of the triune Allah moved on the face of the boundless space, and the 7 ethers were. And every ether had its form of life. So when we go into this expression and we understand that every ether has its form of life, and these forms are the thought activity of the Creator, you know, then we understand why Medu is rooted in thought activity. And in order to comprehend it, you have to demonstrate by exercising your thoughts. See, it said these planes with all their teeming thoughts, meaning these thoughts are collective of Allah, are never seen by the eyes of man in flesh. You can't see what Allah thinking. They are composed of substance far too fine for fleshy eyes to see. Still, they constitute the soul of things. And this is why when he asked the angels, you know, since I done taught Adam, you know, and we know Adam represent different cycles of the beginning, you know, so don't get caught up with the one of 6,000 years ago, because there were many Adams, 100,000 as mentioned by Ibn Arabi. But, you know, when we get into these special measures, we understand through these cycles that you can't see what Allah manifests unless he chose to manifest. That's why he's told the angels, I know what you know not. Even though you are my thought made manifest, you wouldn't manifest unless I started thinking. So an angel is a thought manifested in human flesh. See, this is how the Neteru manifest. They manifest as thought activity within human flesh. So our the manifest that we see around us. When you see the sun, doing what it does, this is neter, a neteru involved in this. When you see, the rain, this is neteru. This has always been the teaching of not only Kemet, but all of the African cosmological systems, so to speak. Once you understand this right here, you see then that, these ain't a bunch of demigods and idols that the European and the Romans and Western Egyptology have taught us, and not calling our people pagans. No, they had animism as a chief concept in their belief, in their teachings, because they seen everything around them as sacred. They seen everything around them as a part of the all and a part of the divine. You see, they didn't see these things as separate. There was a deific tie in the eyes of our people. But with the carnal insight of somebody from the outside that don't even have that type of teaching, of course they gonna come in and have all types of misunderstanding. Even certain people who would usurp the throne in ancient Kemet, a lot of those usurpers came in usurping and then tried to mix their particular culture with that of Kemet. And this is where a lot of the corruption came. And a lot of this was spoken of in the book of Isaiah, that the great God Allah will allow these things to unfold, so to speak. And this wasn't nothing but then something that had to do with a purging process. Because by the time the great God Allah made the decision to bring chastisement to Egypt, a Pharaoh had already rose up in Egypt that Joseph and didn't know. So, those who was receiving punishment was not the natives. They were already, a people that had been mixed, so to speak, because the Hyksos went into Kemet more than one time. We can say at different periods, so to speak. We know the first one is around the time after the Pharaoh Joseph was there. Some people would even try to consider him, according to the history of Matheno or Manetho, one of the first presence of those who would be considered amongst, foreigners entering Kemet. But that's a whole nother measure. So if you go, it says also, and with the eyes of soul, all creatures see the ether planes. And the life are the forms of life. So you got to see with the eyes of soul in order to see what Medu Neter is really saying to you. See with the eyes of soul, and also be able to listen to the silent voice that speak within. And we can hear and see what is being demonstrated through these different forms of life, the Neteru, right? Because all forms of life on every plane are thoughts of Allah. All creatures think, right? And every creature is possessed of will, and in its measure has the power to choose. And in their native planes, all creatures are supplied with nourishment from the ethers of their planes. You see? And so, it goes on. And so it was with every living thing until the will became a sluggish will. And then the ethers of protoplasm, earth, of planet, beast, and man began to vibrate very slow. And the ethers became more dense, and all creatures of these planes were clothed with coarser garbs of flesh, of which men can see. And thus the coarser manifest, which men call physical, appeared. You see? And all of these expressions, especially when we get into talking about the fall of man, and notice it says, and this is what is called the fall of man, but man fell not alone, for protoplasm, earth, plant, and beast were all included in the fall. So the basis has to do with those who were cultivating the earth. So if we were cultivating the earth while we are at our heights of divinity, and quite naturally, everything else will be divine by design as well. But if we fall in our vibration, then the quality of, the cellular expression is not good, because we're not feeding it the proper nutrients and so forth and so on. The properties of earth and those things that are necessary in the soil in order for the soil to give forth fruition to the things that we need to consume and they be healthy. This fell in vibration when we fell. The plant life, the beast life, all of it fell because man fell in vibration. And the ancient Kemites recorded these things as well in stone. They recorded their rise, they recorded their fall, they recorded their great moments, and they recorded, the moments of where it was warfare and everything else going on. You see? So yeah, a lot of this is everything that we can read about, it's right here. It's right here. We say a thought of Allah can never die. That in and of itself tell us the thoughts of Allah change not. The manifest of life on every plane unfolds in perfection of their kind. In other words, there's a cycle where things become even more perfect. You see? Yeah, so these are some powerful demonstrations, that are being given. These things are very powerful when you're able to see that. And once you can see it from that aspect, now it makes more sense when we go back to what Mustafa Gadala was saying, up here when he was talking about images, language of the mind, and consciousness / divine. So it says, as human beings, we say to each other, picture this. Can you imagine? Do you see my point? Then he says that the use of such words as a picture, an image, see my point, are deep reflections of how our minds process information that reaches us through our senses. We all process all common information through images. You ever heard somebody and listen to a song and say, man, that one painted a perfect picture, of what it is that I went through or what I've been through. And this is why we can say a picture is also worth 1,000 words, right? But it says linguistic communication consists of the transmission of immaterial ideas or concepts from one person or speaker or writer to another, hearer or listener, by means of material signs, such as marks on paper or vibrations of airwaves. And in fact, in order for one to have a proper understanding, they got to have a insight of the vision that's being brought to them. If they can't comprehend the vision, then more than likely they don't comprehend what it is that you're trying to give them and tell them. It says, in reading the text, we undertake a process of vision, right? And let me go to the other one, because this is actually 9. Okay, it says vision, whereby material signs are translated into concepts in our brains. You see, this is why Yahushua was told when he went into them chambers to contemplate, so he could translate these concepts, of what he was observing in his mind. This is the way that we demonstrated from the Sabate methodology of our ancestors. It says, like we told, contemplate thy frame. The traditional interpretation of communication purports to treat the material sign as the mere appearance as an underlying idea of reality. So traditional interpretation, if you see a dog or a cat, it's a dog or a cat, but you don't really go into, I wonder what is the nature of this cat, what is the full essence of this? We don't get into a lot of that a lot of times. It says, when communication is interpreted in this way, the interplay of signs is not treated as a reality in its own right. Rather, the sign is taken as the signifier, indicator, or appearance of a signified essential reality which underlies it. This reality is the conceptual content which is somehow held in the brain of the communicating person. This apparent modern thinking was known not only to the ancient Egyptians, as we check the text of the Shabaka stele that dates only to 700 BCE, but linguistic theological, it says, and other evidence is conclusive in support of its derivation from an original text at least more than 2,000 years earlier. Section 55 of this Egyptian document reads, the sight of the eyes, the hearing of the ears, and the smelling of the air by the nose, they report to the heart. It says, it is this which caused every completed concept to come forth. And it is the tongue that announces what the heart thinks for itself. It says the senses report to the heart. With this report material, The heart conceives and releases thought, which the tongue as the herald puts into effective utterance. Powerful. Powerful. So it says the heart in ancient Egypt symbolized the consciousness. As such, the information channeled via the 5 powers of sensation are brought to the faculty of the imagination. You know, powerful demonstration. Just dealing with that. And these things didn't come in the proper order. So I got another drawing here. We're going to go to the next page that's closer to it. That's page 11. Right here, and then we'll go to 12. This page here, 11, he gets into where these methodologies come from. And we're going to get further into this. It says the soundness of the 3 rows of each Egyptian hieroglyphic image. The hieroglyphics of Horapollo, and we showed y'all that last week, is the only true hieroglyphic treatise preserved from classical antiquity. It's very important that our people understand this. Champollion himself studied the works of Horapollo. But it says this is the only true hieroglyphic treatise preserved from classical antiquity. Why? Because Horapollo was an actual Egyptian priest. Champollion was not. So that automatically would qualify Horapollo, you know, being in the priesthood, because his methodology had to come from the priesthood, quite naturally. It consists of 2 books, one containing 70 chapters and the other 119, each dealing with one particular hieroglyph. And y'all seen that last week. The relationships between sign and meaning were, according to Horapollo, always of an allegorical nature. And it was always established by means of philosophical reasoning. So they laugh when I tell them, you know, the hieroglyphics have a metaphysical, allegorical, symbolic meaning. But this was demonstrated way back during the time of Horapollo. It says, accordingly, each Egyptian hieroglyph has a short heading describing either the hieroglyph itself in simple terms, as for instance, the explanation of the picture of a falcon, or else stating the nature of the allegorical subject to be explained, such as how to signify eternity or how to signify the universe. And we seen that by being depicting of the serpent consuming its own tail. You see, which is a universal symbol in a lot of occult and esoteric circles. The Theosophists actually use the symbol of the serpent consuming its tail, having a 6-pointed star in the center, you know, in the Ankh and so forth and so on. But it says, likewise, Clement of Alexandria in Stramata book, another individual that was actually considered renowned. It says book 5 and 4 tells us of the 2 main roles, literal and symbolic, of the Egyptian hieroglyphs. So this is all those who came before Champollion giving this stuff to you, symbolic, metaphorical, and how the later symbolic contains 2 roles being figurative and allegorical, which is mystical. The Egyptian hieroglyphic, it says, of which one aspect is the first element is literal and the other symbolic. This is Clement Alexandria saying this. Of the symbolic, one kind speaks literally by imitation, and another writes as if it were figuratively, and another is quite allegorical, using certain enigmas. You see? So let's see. I want to make sure that's 11. We're gonna go to 12. 12 is above that. It says, wishing to express the sun in writing, they make a circle, and the moon a figure like the moon, like its proper shape. Figurative. Clement Stramata book 5 chapter 4 continues. But in using the figurative style by transposing and transferring, by changing and transforming in many ways as suits them, they draw characters. Right? 3rd row subject / allegorical. Clement Stramata book 5 chapter 4 continues. Let the following stand as a specimen of the 3rd species, the enigmatic. It says, for the rest of the stars, on account of their oblique course, they have figured like bodies of serpents. It says, but the sun like that of the beetle, because it makes a round figure of ox dung and rolls it before its face. So he studied the nature of the beetle rolling, dung before its face. And they say that this creature lives 6 months under the ground and another division of the year above the ground, and emits its seed into a ball, other ball, and brings forth, and there is not a female beater. So this is how this seed actually is planted by the beetle itself now, asexual in all actuality, producing of itself, no female. Ain't that something very knowledgeable to be brought to us? Clement, like all classical writers of antiquities, asserted that the Egyptian hieroglyphics represent true images of the divine law. The relationships between sign and meaning were always of an allegorical nature, and it was always established by means of philosophical reasoning. To summarize, the symbolic hieroglyphic writing basically divided into 3 rows, and it goes on in these particular measures. Let's see here. We actually jump to page 14. He says, Platonist philosopher Iamblichus, it says, who wrote in his day Mysteries, the Egyptian hieroglyphic characters were not fortuitously or foolishly made, but with great ingenuity, after the example of nature. This is Iamblichus, Platonist philosopher. That's the 3rd person. Well, actually, the 4th, Mustafa Gadala, Hor Apollo, Clement Alexander, and now the Platonist philosopher Iamblichus, who's telling you that these hieroglyphic characters represented measures of nature. It says various Hebrew and Arabic authors concurred. They enshrine not histories or eulogies of kings, but the highest mysteries of the divinity. So these pictorial expressions in stone was actually demonstrating the history of the demigods, or the Neteru in most cases. That's what those symbols are really dedicated to, expressing, the thought activity as manifested through the Neter and Neteru. So it says the triple layered aspects of Egyptian hieroglyphic images are consistent with the general Egyptian thinking of the transcendentalist consciousness, the correspondence between consciousness, and so goes any possible consciousness, and so the world. In Egyptian texts, there is no artificial distinction between sacred and mundane. This is the basis of the theory of correspondences, indeed, of all traditional symbolism, in which true symbol is imbued with some of the power of its original. Contrary to the anthropological view of the origin of symbols, in mere similarities, this doctrine regards them as primary realities, whose actual relationship is perceived by man's higher intellect. So this is why we can't just look at these symbols as no letter A, letter B, letter C. These symbols represent a higher reality, and you have to be able to see it from a level of a higher intellect. But when you're dealing with materialist mindsets, which most of the people that claim Kemet, are demonstrating, they claim to be Kemetic, but at the same time rejecting deity. So we know that's the materialist mindset of the Western academician, scientists. So they don't care nothing about metaphysics and spirituality. They only care about what they can see and what they have perceived to be what they say it is. So it says there must be something identical in a picture and what it depicts, an identity of latent structure. The ideogram, and we went over ideograms last week. We talked about the idea being expressed, right? Is an accurate mode of depicting reality. The traditional interpretation of communication purports to treat the material sign as the mere appearance, it says, of an underlying idea of reality. Depiction is not synonymous with copy in nature. Ideogrammic writing is mimetic only in the sense that it attempts to enact natural processes. You see? Let's see here. Okay, so we can go down to the other portions here. So we took different aspects out of here to try to condense what it was that we were trying to express to our family. Okay, yeah. Let's see. I want to make sure I have this in order. Okay, that's the 29. Let's see here. Okay, that's 27. So yeah, this is what we want to start with this, and then we'll go up. Stuff is all out of order the way I put it in here, but all is where it says one must view these depictions in the proper perspective. How does these series of depictions relate to each other? But first, how do these depictions fit in the overall picture? Orientations of hieroglyphic characters. Hieroglyphic characters may be written in columns or horizontal lines, which are sometimes to be read from right to left and sometimes from left to right, sometimes right to left. There was no fixed rule about the direction in which characters should be written, but the heads always turn toward the beginning of the sentence, which we showed y'all how that fallacy was overthrown, because we showed you at the beginning of a sentence it was facing one from one direction, and the other side it was facing one from the other direction. So how could you begin to read it when they both are facing you at different areas? Because we find out that a lot of this is what a Ptolemaic remix come in, of them just depicting certain things, and we can call it mimicking what was demonstrated in Kemet, having the priests do this just for decor. Nothing different than what wallpaper would be to us now. So it says the orientation of characters could be affected by a multitude of factors, such as the type of material written on, the position of the text in relation to figures or other texts, or the nature of the inscription. In certain cases, texts were deliberately written backwards. And there are also examples of inscriptions that make sense only when read from bottom to top. It says the hieroglyphic characters are arranged in a stream of hieroglyphic text, singular forms, a single symbol in double, triple form to reflect duality or plurality. A combined two symbols in one form, such as a leg with a knife, to indicate the combined meaning of no trespassing. A cluster group, a separated 2 and 3 images showing a loose connectivity of specific thought, concept, and dual triple structure. So he's harping upon this dual triple meaning demonstration. And let me see here. Metaphysical significance of animal images. The primary function of the Egyptian ideograms is to represent thoughts. This means that one must be searching for both the figurative and object stands for one of its qualities, and the allegorical. An object is linked through enigmatic conceptual processes. We must always keep in mind the relationships between visual forms and their meanings. A visual form may be mimetic. It says are imitative or directly copying features of an object it represents. It may be associative, suggesting attributes which are not visually present. It says such as abstract properties incapable of literal depiction. And finally, it may be symbolic, meaningful only when decoded according to the conventions or systems of knowledge which, though not inherently visual, are communicated through visual means. I go back to what we were saying, earlier about you can't see the thoughts of Allah, until some manifestation is brought forth. So this is one aspect of getting into what Mustafa Gadala was saying. And I actually already had this one here. Let's see. Yeah, that one there, I did that one too, so that's okay. Okay, so those are the same ones there. Let me see here. There was one more, I think. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, yeah, these are the ones that I was looking for here. He got a lot of different measures in here. Here it is right here. Ideograms of ideas, images as metaphysical symbols. It is worth repeating Plotinus' description of how the Egyptians came up with their pictographic hieroglyphic ideograms. Plotinus wrote in the E.A.R.S, volume 5 and 6, or 5 through 6. It says, the wise men of Egypt, either by scientific or innate knowledge, when they wished to signify something wisely, did not use the form of letters, which follow the order of words and propositions, and imitate sounds and enunciations of philosophical statements. He says, but by drawing images and inscribing in their temples one particular image of each particular thing, they manifested the non-discursiveness of the intelligible world. That is, that every image is a kind of knowledge and wisdom and is subject of statements all together in one, and not discourse or deliberation, but only afterwards others discovered starting from it in its concentrated unity of representation in something else, already unfolded and speaking discursively and giving, I think I added that other portion on here. Yeah, the reasons why things are like this. So that because what has come into existence is so beautiful disposed, if anyone knows how to admire it, he expresses his admiration of how this wisdom, which does not itself possess the reasons why substance is as it is, gives them the things to which are made according to it. In this Egyptian meta language, both the signified and the signified of the sign dissolve by use of the sign that ultimately represents extra linguistic signified concepts or signified reality. It says the linguistic sign unites not a thing and a name, but a concept. The link would be between, on the one hand, psychological entity in the case of a concept, and on the other hand, a material entity. The contrast is at once between the subjective and the objective, the idea and the material, and the private and the social. Egyptians never differentiated between sacred and mundane, the two sides of the same coin. Images of each other always aware of maintaining this relationship between above and below and vice versa. Egyptian hieroglyphic ideograms are formed in accordance with natural laws. The character of the Egyptian written sign inheres in this natural capacity to recreate processes. The ideograms may be defined as pictures intended to represent either things or thoughts. And there are two types of ideograms. And so it went here, into these special measures and gave us further knowledge of the ideogram, which we actually just read over a few minutes ago. But yeah, it's a whole bunch of drawings here that we can go into. Man, as we say, many phrases are being used throughout the world, which consistently state that the human being is made in the image of God, i.e. a miniature universe, and that to understand the universe is to understand oneself and vice versa. Yet no culture has ever practiced these principles like the ancient Egyptians. Central to their complete understanding of the universe was the knowledge that man was made in the image of God, and such man represented the image of all creation. Consistent with such thinking, a depicted human being represents both the universe as a whole as well as a human being on the earth. The difference between the two will be clear in the context of the text. And he went into the animal symbolism, this drawing here dealing with pictures as an actual representation of objects, pictorial symbols which are used to suggest abstract ideas. Man, this is very powerful demonstration. Imitation means through imagination means creating art objects to be set beside the natural objects of the world. And we showed that in the didactic art expression with Al-Sa and the Atef crown early. The method of artistic creation and shape of the object created are specifically human realization of the universal creative forces present in nature. It is the force of the imagination through which we can feel ourselves related sympathetically to the larger latent force of the cosmos. In creating new objects, with the age of the imagination, the mystic does not desert reality by constructing things alien or unnatural. Imagination does not tamper with the world, but moves it in accordance with nature. An overview of the Egyptian formation of ideograms. The wealth of knowledge in the Egyptian pictorial formations. A symbol by definition is not what it represents, but what it stands for and what it suggests. A symbol reveals to the mind a reality other than itself. Words convey information. Symbols evoke understanding. This is why we can look at emojis and not somebody even tell us this emoji represent this. Just by people using these emojis we find online, we know a sad face when we see it. We know a frowning face when we see it. We know a disgusted face when we see it. We know a disgruntled face, a displeased face. And all of these emojis are somewhat becoming like a digital expression of hieroglyphs. So the same way that we can understand these emojis, we should be able to look at the pictures that are being depicted in the medulla and be able to get meaning out of these things. But we have to know the nature of the thing that we perceive in order to have concrete meaning. And so the medulla encourages us to study the book of creation, you see, and listen to the silent voice that speak within. So once we able to demonstrate that, then we understand how this thing go way out, family. These things go way outside of what Rome has tried to limit them to be. You see? So, these are some grand drawings, family. With that being said, what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And I just wanted to give our family that insight. Once you understand that, family, you understand it's a lifelong journey, so to speak, when it comes to actually trying to teach our people. You understand that it's also very important for us to learn how to read this book of creation. I've been saying it the whole while. To become the living, breathing, walking circle 7, just as our holy prophet was said to be the 7th of the time. And Muhammad himself was also given that type of attribute. He was called the walking, the breathing, the walking, and the talking Quran as well. Yehoshua in the Piscean record was said to be the word made flesh. Buddha, according to his teaching, was said to be the book of enlightenment. So this is all depicted that we have to go within the self and be able to read the book of creation. This ain't something that's made up. I get this concept, as far as harping upon it from, want to give honors to our brother Naketi Ayadin when he went into teaching. And y'all had a book, The Supreme Sign. If you read The Supreme Sign, the journey of the traveler, a man who was dealing with observing creation in himself, by the time he get through that process, he done went and looked at the heavens, everything around him. And he said that basically it has to be a supreme reality that did it. He even got so far into the fact of saying, well, as he was on this journey, his cells in his body at the cellular level began to question him, so to speak. And this is the way that Betty Uzum and Saeed Nursing depicted it. And he said, basically, if you can't tell me basically how I filter the blood, to keep, you from dying from self-poisoning, you can't tell me, the true essence on how I operate within your body to regulate different functions so that more white and red blood cells will have a balance. The cells began to talk back to this traveler as he was looking at creation. The heavens were speaking to him as he was looking at creation. So this is what we mean when we talk about reading the book of creation. We got a bunch of books around us that we put in our hand, but all of those, when you get at an adept level, have prepared you to be able to see these lessons in your surrounding. That's why I was saying, like every prophet in our class, we demonstrated our Moorish perspectives. Every prophet in their life, it's not just something they went through, but whether we know it or not, if we pay attention, we will be going through the same things that they went through. You see? That's all a part of different chapters or pages, words being expressed from the book of creation. You see? So this is a grand drawing, family. We got to think outside of the box. I.e., what is the box? We also have a knowledge of the box as it relates to the cube. Well, what's the cube? How many dimensions are in the cube? What are the mathematical expression in the cube that relate to the self? You see, this is how deep we go. When we talk about Kemet, we need not put them and prostitute their sacred teachings, so to speak, as being something that's limited to a letter A, a letter B, a letter C. When you see these Neter and Neteru being expressed, you are seeing the language of the ancestor, the language of the gods. And that's how we should honor it and rever it and put some respect on it. And not allow a European thought pattern, I don't care how good they try to make it, because it's the nature of the European to come and get something and that they don't understand, tamper with it, and come up with something systematic, and then call that the true science of what is being observed when they wasn't even back there. And so our people begin to accept that because they trust the Europeans' mind. Oh, they can't possibly be wrong. And they put it together so good. And they done this even all the way down to the time of a science of being able to enslave us and make it look fair seeming to the world. So if they was able to do this, and even to this day, and have people now even trying to teach us that slavery was for our own good. Oh, look at how they philosophize this type of stuff, and our people eat it up, and then they accept the narrative. And they try to become proficient in the way that the Western academician, depict what it is that they are saying about our plight. And this becomes the politically correct expression that we supposed to accept. And most of our people do. Even the very wise amongst our people, the most elect, have been deceived by this devil. You see? And they going back and forth, want to fight over what Rome said, what Rome didn't say, and don't even have their own opinion because they don't have their own minds to think with. Because they have been like a welfare recipient, always having their hand in hand is symbolic to the mind, looking for something that they can receive from somebody as opposed to what it is that they are willing to give. What is it that you have to offer? And now we have become intellectually handicapped because we have become so dependent upon the way another people have taught us to think and what they have brought us to think about, to where we constantly find ourselves falling by intellectually climbing into a bottomless pit of the insufficiency of knowledge. So where do we go from here? You see, we can't get no plainer than that. Crazy people don't talk like this, even though they want you to think that we crazy. They want you to think that we don't know what we talking about. Ignorant people don't talk like this. You see? Ignorant people don't talk with some sense. And the only reason this don't make sense to you, if you think it don't make sense, is because if it ain't about dollars, to them, most of them can't make sense. You see? Or won't try to make sense. You see? So that's the problem at hand. But we want to give honors to our family and all of our scribes that came forth to exercise their fire. And we're going to give them the floors in our closing out. We'll start by calling on our Grand National Secretary of the State, Sister Shepsut Rakat Ma'at and Putut to come and bake. Islam.
Islam, gratitude, Dr. Shahi. Grand class, powerful drawing. Having already risen, giving praise and honor where due. I just wanted to bring forth just a couple of points that was so profound, that didactic art, that it just brings what is the word? Inspiration to increase the study, and that invariably is dealing with the study of the self. And when we look at the Sabate method, being able to contemplate our frame and looking at the underlying principle as opposed to just looking at a particular object for a surface value only and not relating it to the demonstration of creation. That would give one even further depth into dealing with the study of the self, and dealing with the symbols and how they represent a higher reality with ones that are viewing it from a higher intellect as opposed to looking at it from a materialistic aspect or trying to downgrade it to the letters of it's an alphabet. Move on, people. There's nothing to see here. And, so I just want to give honor to the class, for bringing out the grandeur of our ancestors and what value we owe to them and to ourselves, our nation, and our special history to stand no matter what and not accept the ideologies of those who intent is to try to bury, take out, or harm. So gratitude more for this very uplifting class, and much peace and love to our scribes, Act One, and our family online. Islam.
In Islamism, Grand National Secretary of State, gratitude, Islam. But all right. Let us call forth. I see our National Grand Sheikh is there, Dr. Serapis Amin Rael. Islam. You there, Sheikh? If you're speaking, we can't hear you, Grand Man. Hold up. Let me see if I can. Okay. Okay, I can't unmute our Sheikh. If you can, unmute yourself, Sheikh, if you're speaking. Because we can't hear you, Grand Man. Oh no, maybe our brother may be occupied at the moment. Well, all right.
Islam?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, we got our chairman on the manifest. Goodness gracious. We thought you was on a mission, Grand Man. We thought the Grand Secretary of the State was speaking for you. Come on in here, man. My chairman, come on.
Islam isn't without a schism, man. Let me rise and give praise to Allah and honor to the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Send much honor to Noble Drew Ali, the last prophet in these days and time that was sent from Allah to bring us everything that it takes to save a nation. That's why we got our own divine constitution, bylaws. We got our own covenant, everything. We got our own Holy Quran. But we just blessed. Our own signs and symbols. We just honored and blessed more. And it's been a magnanimous class. Thank you. Man, this class right here, one of them journeys. I'm so glad I was on it. So praise Allah for you. And praise Allah, man. I'm just so pumped up right now, Mo. We love you. So if you got a question, just call me, ask me or something. I don't know. Right now, we love you. Islamism without the schism.
Islamism without the schism. Goodness gracious. Chairman, you already know you got us with all that questions you done answered with that book of fire. They better get it. And this is powerful, man. We can see our prophet's language, what you have referred to on numerous occasions, Chairman, in the book of fire. Our language. And this is it. This is more science. This is what you call, Chairman, the transliteration of the ancient Comedian teachings, through that in which our prophet brought. And it took us some time to get here, but you seen it, we was moving like swift angels too, because we here now. And they can't sell that snake oil to our people no more, except the one that like it. Islam, Chairman. Gratitude. All right. What about we're gonna see if our Sheik was able to get in here again. Pardon self, Sheik. Islam. All right. But yeah, I think our Sheik may be occupied at the moment because he normally would come in by now. So what we'll do is we'll call forth then our beloved goddess and queen, Sister Dendra, to give her measure, and the brother Marvin Edwards Bay, Bati Bay, all them, and then we can take it to third heaven, get ready for Sunday school. Islam.
Islam. As been said, this has been a powerful class. And Dr. Shahid, I tell you, just our homework and just going into this teaching and learning to go within ourselves and give a measure on the different things that we gave measures on, to go within ourselves and to pull from within. And when you was talking about the meta is thought activity, and as I sit here and I think, and I'm talking to my family who's out there, who's live, and I know a lot of them may be like me, coming out of Christianity. I to say that the meta, which we call the language of God, to reduce that to just alphabets. I mean, that's just so wrong, and how we are showing you how you got to go within yourself, and how our ancestors looked at these different things and saw the essence of these things, and the teachings that we are putting out here, family. I don't understand. No, let me put it this way. I just encourage you to continue to come and get in these classes. Listen to the playback, listen to the teachings, because we are bringing you the truth. And the thing that puzzles me is when I was on my journey, because see, I come out of Christianity, and I say this all the time. I come out of Christianity and I was in the conscious movement and stuff. But when I was in the conscious movement, we didn't believe nothing that the European told us. And I think you mentioned it, Dr. Shahid, because we used to say this thing, ancestors blacker than 1,000 midnight. Now, we wasn't talking about no nationality or nothing. We was talking about the melanin that was in our skin, our dark color that was in our skin. That wasn't nothing, didn't have nothing to do with no nationality and stuff. And we talked about how we were the one who gave the languages to the world, how we were the one who gave the sciences to the world, how we were the one who gave God consciousness to the world. And then it's like I kept on my journey to come here to this Moorish American government. And then I look back and I see people coming trying to convince me that the European, the ones who enslaved us, the one who experimented on us, the ones who put AIDS in our communities, the one who did all of these things to us, and then you want to try to turn around and convince me to believe that these people gonna tell me the truth? It's just mind-boggling for me, family. I don't understand. It's like I went on and I look back and I'm like, what happened? What happened to the people? What happened to your thought pattern? Why y'all didn't stay on the same track that we was on? It's just amazing to me. And like I say, to take the Europeans' word over anything that our ancestors said. And like you was talking about Howard Paula, he was the priest. And Champollion and them, they studied his teachings and trying to tell you all this stuff. But they trying to tell you it's Data One come up with this. Come on, people. I mean, it all it do is just think a little bit. Probably say, if I can just get you to think, you will save yourself. If you just think a little bit, just think. Who is the one that's telling you all of this? Who is the one that then programmed you into all of this? Oh man, when I think about it, how he is the one who deceived me so long. But the truth is out now. I mean, the truth is out, and we gonna give you the truth. You just keep on coming, family. Just keep on coming. You're gonna continue to grow. You're gonna continue to learn. Powerful class, Dr. Shahid. I tell you, I'm just enjoying my little self. Gratitude for that we share. Peace and love.
Islam. Peace and love, goddess and queen. Islamism without the schism for that grand droid. You already know you done stirred up the ethers. But all right, brothers. My brother scribes, what have you to say in closing?
Islam.
Go ahead, bro.
Islam, gratitude, Mama Never Bay. You know, ain't nothing more powerful than your own mind. You know what I'm saying? And the fact that we don't appreciate we don't give credence to our own thoughts. I mean, not credence. We don't believe in the power of our own thinking. No, because we have so many avenues we have so many different avenues to pull us away from relying on us that, you know, we really live in a crutch society. You know what I'm saying? Not just, you know what I'm saying, but holistically, we live in a crutch society where or I should say a scapegoat society. And so when you're thinking about, and that's why I like what the ancestors did, you got to think about the aspect, if they're putting pictures up, pictograms up on a wall, that doesn't, my depiction of what this pictogram's saying is not going to be the same as the next person's depiction of what this pictograph is saying. So when I'm looking at things, though it's going to be in line with what the next person is saying, it gives credence to that truth comes in from many different angles. It comes in all forms. And the fact that we put another people's truth, or I ain't going to even say truth, we put another people's how they depict the picture above what we view and how we view ourselves is a problem. You know what I'm saying? And that's relying, you know what I'm saying, even as individuals, when you rely on somebody else's depiction of you, then you forever live in that box. You forever imprison yourself to that. You have to get yourself outside of that box and realize that you are the great God. You know what I'm saying? You are a part of that thought. You are the thought. So that means that you cannot be circumscribed as well as your creator cannot be circumscribed. You have them potencies to build and mold things as your creator does. There is nobody greater than you, who you are. And the fact that, and one thing is this, if we take a step back and we look at things as they are and not what we want it to be, we stop being black overnight. You know, we can't make that be an existence. We can't make somebody accept us. And why are we going for that? Their you know, to be accepted by their rules and regulations. It's not their rules and regulations that govern. We are the divine. The vine puts you in a title holding spot. And so we have to take that essence of who we truly are, what we truly are, and let that live the life, and not live the life inside the ideals of all those, because every avenue of the West has got us in a state of slavery. Every avenue. There's not one avenue that you can say, oh, that's out of love. Every single aspect of it is from a point of slavery. And so When we say divine, godlike, that's what we saying. Divine is godlike. You are godlike. I'm godlike. Everybody on the panel is godlike. Everyone who's speaking, every thought that we think is godlike. And I'm saying that because all thoughts come from, you know what I'm saying? And that's what we're talking about, that cool, getting back to that two-headed serpent. How is your soul going to work? Is it going to work as in the dark, or is it going to work as a light? And are you going to radiate that? Are you going to radiate that your essence, or are you going to be something else? But remember, you also have the right to choose if you want to be a slave or you want to be free. You know, and that's just if you want to be a god or you want to be a slave. I like being a god. You know, that's whatever I can come up with, I'm going to make happen. And it takes time. It's not just no overnight. Just because I said it is, I'm still learning. I'm still getting my trying to stabilize my baby legs with this. You know, so with that, just keep going. Who cares what everybody else say? You are the God. You know what I'm saying? But you have to learn how to be God. And only gods can teach gods, and that's why we are here. Islam, and with that leads to come in peace. Islam.
Islam and peace, brother. Praise be to Allah. Well, all right. Brother Marvin Edwards Bay.
Islam. Gratitude. I have a lot to say, but we ain't going to have enough time. You know what I mean? We have to come back in sessions. But praise Allah and honor his prophet and honor everyone here within the sound of my voice. This is very, very powerful class. Like I say, the body had me in a situation. Now I got it in a situation. And so it's just a beautiful thing just to hear the scribes, hear the instructor, hear our Act 1. And as I, peep out more online, you know what I mean, as they have input, and, all I could say is that it's really, as the brother was speaking before me, Consul General of Iowa, it's really all about the self. It's all about the self, then it's all about the one, which is all of us together. So the whole point is purifying our hearts and mind, studying the self, because as the prophet teaches us to study the self, that's where all the answers are for each and every individual one of us. But as we come here in this Moorish American government together, we have to always, look at our divine constitution. And, for those that haven't made it, officially to the Moorish American government, I suggest, to do so. Proclaiming your nationality in the only government in which we live. What is there to lose? Everything is to gain. I just feel so blessed. Not only do I feel so blessed, I know that I am blessed because I've been studying the self. I know how, one day you could be up, one day you could be down, but we always up, whether we realize it or not, because the great God Allah is always in charge. He's always leading on. So we just have to open our particular mindset, open up our breasts so that we can take in all that is being given to us. And I just say gratitude, God, man, for allowing me to speak. Islam and peace.
And gratitude for the measure, brother. Islam and peace indeed. Praise be to Allah. Islamism without the schism. Well, all right, Sister Curta Bay. The measure is on you.
Islam. Woo, great class. January 15, 1929. A warning from the prophet to be read at every meeting. I hereby inform all citizens that they must end all radical, agitating speeches while at work, in their homes or on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any citizen or group of citizens who hold malicious feelings toward the government of the prophet or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet, noble Drew Ali, and if the prophet is not right, the government is not right. The prophet, therefore, is sending out the divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their prophet and the government. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways by the order of prophet noble Drew Ali. A holy covenant of the Asiatic nations. Ye are the children of one father provided for by his care, and the breast of one mother have given you suck. Let the bonds of affection, therefore, unite thee with thy brothers, that peace and happiness may dwell in thy father's house. And when ye separate in the world, remember the relation that bindeth you to love and unity, and prefer not a stranger before thy own blood. If thy brother is in adversity, assist him. If thy sister is in trouble, forsake her not. So shall the fortunes of thy father contribute to the support of his whole race, and his care be continued to you all in your love to each other. Islam, Islam, Islam. This meeting is officially adjourned according to Act 2. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Go in peace, Moors. Islam. Great class, family. Great class. Woo.
That's how we move.
Wee.
Yeah, that's how we move.
Great class. Gratitude.
Gratitude, family. We love you, Moors. We love you,
Love
family.
y'all.
You already know the love is mutual, Scribe. We love you too.
Islam, family.
No.
See y'all in Sunday
Islam,
school.
family.
Praise Allah. Great class.
That's right. Peace and love.
Peace and love. See you in
Peace and
Sunday
love.
school.
Good love.
All right. Want to give honors to our family out there as well. You know, y'all already know we're gonna keep it coming. You know, honors to our family. Who that is? Let's see, brother. Meet Freedom. Honors to Facebook user, Noble Brian, creator of the Boundless Universe, Stanley L. Michael Stanley L. Also official mean man, Tarif Bay, Born Dog, Awanesa Alinga Kachina Bay. Honors to you and gratitude for the blessing, Sister Sunshine L, creator of the Boundless Universe. All of y'all already know what the time it is. Noble Brian. Can't forget our family, Noble Brian, as well. In Islam, it's all love. See y'all in the next session.
Islam.
Peace and love.